Town Council meeting to order. Chris, would you do the honors of the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. This evening, we are going to start with our presentations and recognitions. And we are very fortunate to have Irina Basanova in here with us. And I will work my way to the podium.
I'll bring some stuff for you.
Okay, let's see.
Mention the pictures up there.
Yes.
You got everything?
And while, here you go. Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
yeah.
And while I'm going to the podium, everyone online can look at some of Irina's beautiful work. Would you like to come up? Throughout the pandemic, Irina has been posting on Facebook a number of her artworks and offering them out to the public, also doing fundraisers and supporting the high school. I know you did the calendar last year, had T-shirts. The Big Bird Bridge, I think, has been in a number of different places. But if you look, you'll see some of the beautiful artwork in a number of different modes here. So it's having watched this throughout the pandemic and seen the joy that you brought to so many people, we really thought it was only proper that we recognize you for that. And we will be recognizing you as the first ever Farmington Town artist. So Irina, first of all, when Irina accepted this, the quote she had given was, "Drawing our beautiful town and sharing my art with locals who care so much has helped me going through the isolation caused by the pandemic." And clearly, you also helped a number of other people through with that, because every time a new piece of art would go up there, you'd have endless comments on it, people telling you what beautiful work you do. So thank you for that. You also, she had an art display in the Simsbury Library entitled A Creative Isolation 2020, where she displayed ink, watercolor, and gouache artwork. What is gouache artwork? Close enough. And again, a number of fundraisers, which have been tremendous. But Irina is not an artist. She's also a scientist, not only an artist, in molecular biology and biophysics, and recently was given the Osborne Award for Excellence in Biomedical Science Graduate Technology, and helped the department earn a $1.6 million grant. So this is just a sideline. And we thank you for sharing it with us. And I'd like to congratulate you and first ever. Mask back up. Town artist, town artist. Thank you so much.
Congrats.
We're going to give you the Farmington face mask, and wear with pride, and our Farmington baseball cap. Oh, this is cool. Thank you.
I just want to say,
Please, here, right up here.
first of all, how incredibly honored I am. This is such an amazing recognition. And I think many artists struggle to get that support from the town. And it really means a lot. And I want you to understand, it really does. As you said, I'm a scientist. This is not something that I do, but it helped me to get the connection with the town, and that connection to the people, and just being appreciated has been incredible and really helped me go through the pandemic and keep my spirits up. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, our next presentation is the Anti-Semitism in the United States by Mira Clark Siegel of the American Jewish Committee. And Jay, do we have you online?
Hi, everyone. This is Myra. How are you?
Hello, Mario.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us. And we have Jay.
I am here, just making
Excellent.
sure you can hear me.
We can hear you now, Jay. You're on.
Okay, as I always say, you're lost. No, I'm just kidding. So let me just start by first saying thank you to you, CJ and Kathy, for allowing me to introduce my new friend, Myra Clark Siegel. Hi, Myra, I see you there. To speak on this critically important issue. Just a few comments, some biographical comments, and then I have a few personal comments, and it'll be brief. Myra is currently the regional director of AJC Westchester Fairfield. AJC is the American Jewish Committee, where she oversees all of AJC's regional office activities and represents them across diplomatic, civic, interfaith, and intergroup settings. Prior to that, for 10 years, she served as the AJC Project Interchange, which is AJC's Israel Educational Institute, in senior management as their communications director and senior strategic counsel, where she worked with government officials, media, and diplomats. She's a seasoned public policy and communications professional with 30 years of experience in public affairs, public policy, communications, and diplomacy. My personal comments: we first came in contact with each other, I think it was probably in February and March, through my interest in trying to bring the Mayors United Against Anti-Semitism program to Farmington. And she was able to work with, and I'm thankful that she was able to work with CJ and Kathy, and subsequently have CJ sign on to the program. I think it was in April or May, it was, but somewhere in the early spring, to join over 600 community leaders throughout the United States, and a number of community leaders in Connecticut. And actually, I think CJ might have been one of the first ones. Subsequently, most of the mayors in Connecticut signed. I'm not sure of the number, but at any rate, I'm very thankful that you guys signed on and joined what I consider, a very valuable effort, in support of anti-Semitism, which, as many of you probably know, is something that I'm very passionate about. So I'm very thankful and appreciative of her friendship, and just want to say that I am very proud to introduce our speaker, Myra Clark Siegel, who's going to talk about the state of anti-Semitism in the United States and the great work of her program, the American Jewish Committee. Thank you, Myra, for being here, and welcome to Farmington virtually.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, CJ, and thank you to all of you for this opportunity to speak with you all this evening, albeit virtually, and I look forward to the opportunity when we can join together in person. As Jay said, my name is Myra Clark Siegel, and I am the Regional Director for AJC, the American Jewish Committee, Westchester Fairfield, though our name is not entirely accurate because we actually work throughout Connecticut with opinion leaders and decision makers throughout Connecticut on issues of importance. AJC is a nonpartisan, a staunchly nonpartisan organization dedicated to supporting pluralism, fighting extremism in all its forms, and within that is combating anti-Semitism. We believe that when one community is under threat, all minority communities are under threat. And so the first thing I want to really do is thank you, CJ, and thank you all, to all of you and the members of the town council for signing on to the joint initiative between the U.S. Conference of Mayors and AJC. The initiative was called, or is called, Mayors United Against Anti-Semitism. Over 700 mayors from all 50 states have, and of course, for selectmen, have signed on to that statement. And it's a very strong statement. And I want to first thank you for your leadership. We do not take that for granted. So thank you for that. I want to share with you all that in about 2 weeks, there is going to be an unfortunate anniversary. On October 27th, it will be the 3rd anniversary of the horrific attack of the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, which we all remember was the worst attack against the Jewish community on US soil in history. That attack was an enormous wake-up call for the American Jewish community. And we at AJC wanted to assess where the American Jewish community was feeling and what the general population here in the US was feeling. And were there similarities, were there disparities in terms of the safety of the American Jewish community here in the United States? We undertook a survey both in 2019 and in 2020, and we are about to release for that 3rd anniversary the findings of the 2021 survey on attitudes on anti-Semitism. I could stand here and share a lot of data with you all and a lot of slides, but what I'd like to do is be very mindful of your time. And I'd be happy to send follow-up information to you afterwards. But I want to share a couple of things that may surprise you, because as long as I have worked in this area, the numbers were shocking to me, because this was a national survey, and yet we found that over 50% of the American public is unfamiliar with the term anti-Semitism. We're talking about the United States in 2021. We're not talking about Toulouse, we're not talking about Berlin, we're not talking about Paris, and we're not talking about 1933. We are talking about the United States of America in 2021. And it's particularly troubling when you look at the FBI data, which shows that unfortunately, and no one wants to have these numbers, but unfortunately, when it comes to hate crimes, the Black community is the most attacked in terms of hate crimes, with over 60% of hate crimes being against the Black community. The Jewish community is the unfortunate recipient of the most anti-religious hate crimes, with 60% of all religious-based hate crimes against the Jewish community. And that is particularly troubling when you think about the fact that the Jewish population in the United States is roughly 2% of the population, and here in Connecticut, roughly 3.5%. So there is a major discrepancy here. Again, I'd be happy to probe all of this and share more data with you and more details, but there's something that you all can still do. And this is what I'd like to speak to you about tonight for a moment. Again, I want to thank you for signing on to the Mayors United Against Anti-Semitism statement. There is a core definition that has been adopted by over 30 countries and municipalities throughout the United States. It is called the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition. It is, if you will, the gold standard of the anti-Semitism definition. And I would be willing and happy to work with you all if that is something that you all would be consider adopting. It is not legally binding in any way, shape, or form. It is simply by adopting it, whether it's by a vote of the town council or by some other mechanism, it is a way of saying there is no room for hatred in Farmington. So this is an important step. There are leaders here in the United States that have adopted this, and this is something that would be a very strong statement for everyone within Farmington to know in terms of the leadership of Farmington, that there is really a very progressive community, and I use progressive in a very broad term. AJC is nonpartisan, but in terms of celebrating the diversity of all of our constituents. So I'll stop here, see if you all have any questions. If there's any information that I can provide to you, I certainly would be happy to do so.
Thank you, Myra, for the presentation. And it was our honor to be involved early on. And thank you to Jay, who brought it to our attention. If there are any particular questions, I'll open it up if any of the council have particular questions, knowing that I think we'll have further conversations on the council level at this going forward. Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Myra.
Thank you all for the opportunity, and thank you to Jay also. And thank you, CJ.
Welcome. Okay, that moves us on to item D, public hearing. Having none. Item, what?
I'm sorry, keep on going.
Okay, thought there was something I missed. Item E, new items, none. Item F, public comment. We will first ask the members of our public here if they have any comment. They're welcome to come to the podium, state their name and address, and try and keep your comments fairly brief in respect to others here and online. And then we will go online if anyone has questions from our online audience. So, is there anyone here in the room who would like to speak? Okay, seeing none. Anna, do we have anyone online with any comments? Okay. Quiet night tonight. We will move on to item G, reading of the minutes. Peter.
I make a motion to approve the September 14th, 2021 regular town council meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
I make a motion to approve the September 28th, 2021 regular town council meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion opposed? Sorry, motion passed unanimously. Okay, moving on to item H, reading of communication and written appeals. Kathy?
You just have the one correspondence in your packet from the Services for the Elderly. Nicole, just thanking you for your grant to the group and giving you some information about Services for the Elderly. And just so you know, I did leave a couple of pieces of correspondence on your places, two related to masks and one coming from the Farmington Police Department, just to make sure that the council is aware that that there is going to be an Officer O'Donnell fundraiser on Saturday, October 23rd at 7 p.m. They're going to have a flag football game at the Farmington High School turf field. It will be the Farmington Police Department versus the Town of Farmington Fire Department. Gates will open at 6 p.m. for ticket purchase. Open ceremonies will start at 6:30 p.m. and a kickoff is scheduled for 7 p.m. So just so I left that at everyone's plates if they're interested in going.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving on to reports of committees. Number 1, Land Acquisition Committee.
Nothing new to report.
Nothing to report. Item 2, Green Efforts Committee.
Yes, the Green Efforts Committee met on September 21st. Catherine Kramer and Shannon Rutherford are stepping in to assist us, but Catherine has moved on to greener pastures, so that's in Erica's absence. In terms of just items we spoke about, we are focusing efforts on the anti-idling efforts at schools, placement of signs in student pickup areas, dealing with buses. So we're working on the signage and placement of those. Discuss sustainable CT. Really, we're not going to apply for it this year. The decision was made, I think, dealing with Erica, and it became abundantly clear we were taking sort of a retrospective approach to try and, when we looked at the list of things that we could do to get bronze certification and silver, we realized we were doing a lot of those, but it was the data collection efforts were really a drain on Erica and Kathy's staff. So we are still going to do it and push forward, but we're going to take a more prospective approach with action item approaches, and we're going to really do things and hopefully over time maybe supplement it with the retrospective, but sort of a shift in philosophy, but still move forward with sustainable CT. We discussed simple recycling, which is no longer curbside. You can schedule an appointment for that, and we didn't have the latest numbers for that, but it's still going forward in the curbside fashion. The 2022 cleanup day, townwide cleanup, is tentatively scheduled for April 23rd of 2022, and we just talked about we have a couple openings for vacancies, so if we could broadcast those, it would be greatly appreciated.
Great. So anyone interested in Green Efforts Committee, please contact the Town Manager's Office. Moving on to item 4, Racial Equality Task Force.
Oh,
What about?
you missed
Oh,
one.
I'm sorry. Farmington High School Building Committee.
Yeah, all right.
Wow.
Since our last meeting, I believe our building committee has met twice. First on September 22nd, which was just an intensive evening of meetings where we interviewed the 4 prospective candidates that we selected from the submissions for a construction manager. After hearing the presentations and interviewing and asking questions, the building committee selected O&G Industries for the construction manager position. And then on this past Wednesday, the building committee also met and introduced O&G and then reviewed the progress on sort of our high-level roadmap, discussed implementation of our design working group, and just next steps for the professional partnership subcommittee to draft a RFQ for a commissioning agent. Our next meeting has been canceled, so we'll meet 2 weeks after that.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. Now I'm going to move on past Chris to the Racial Equality Task Force.
You sure? So, we were going to be hosting Enhancing the Customer Experience by Preventing Implicit Bias. This would be October 20th. We have 2 sessions, 9 to 1 or 1 to 3 p.m. It's going to be held at Farmington Gardens, 99 Farmington Avenue. This is free of charge. We have presenters Dr. Ophelia Rowe Allen and Carrie Robinson. And the learning objectives or outcomes are looking for participants to understand the difference between a trait and a behavior and how behaviors are assigned to certain traits. Participants will recognize the difference between stereotypes and prejudice and how they affect interactions with customers. And participants will understand how they connect their traits, behavior, interaction with customers, and develop proper intervention techniques. And this will be hosted with the Racial Equality Task Force and the Farmington Police Department.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, item 5, the American Rescue Plan Act Ad Hoc Committee. And I will give that report. We just had our first meeting this evening at 6 p.m. Basically, we were reviewing what the charge of the committee is, and we were setting plans going forward and looking at prospective uses for these funds and helping define what the government's listing of what the funds are, what we can and cannot use them for. Is there anything, Brian or Joe, you'd like to add to that? Okay, Kathy?
Just that our next meeting is going to be before the next town council meeting in October, in November.
November 9th, I was getting to that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anything else? Anything else but the date?
Yes,
to
that
say.
was it. That's what I meant to say. Okay. Moving on to the reports of the council chair and liaisons. We will start with the council chair. That is me for the moment. Okay, in a little while, we'll be listening to the town manager report, which will go over our strategic plan and what we've accomplished and been through this year. And when you're listening to that report, keep in mind these past 2 years, starting March of 2020, things kind of changed drastically. So in addition to everything on that strategic plan, the town manager's office was kind of rewriting the book on how the town runs in general. So it's a very impressive list of accomplishments in any 2-year period, but even more so with what we had faced. There are, you just heard events going on with the Racial Equality Task Force. They gave a great presentation. We'll talk about the event they're going to have on October 20th. So keep that in mind. The numbers of COVID recently within the state have been getting better, which is an improvement. We're still on Zoom and expect to be that way going into the near future. And I would remind everyone before our next meeting will be Election Day, November 2nd. For the referendum, we had about a 35% turnout, so hopefully we can see that and better coming into our municipal elections. I also want to mention our boards and commissions book, which you can find on our website under government with boards and commissions, because we do have some openings. Chris mentioned the Green Efforts Committee for any veterans. We have a couple of positions open on the Veterans Memorial Committee. Unionville Historic has an opening. Plainville Area Cable TV Advisory has an opening. And Conservation Inland Wetlands Alternate also has an opening. One last thing, a few events I want to mention that are coming up tomorrow. The Hillstead Museum is having its final From the Porch at 6 p.m. They'll have an Edgar Allan Poe lookalike there helping them out. The library also tomorrow at 6:30 on Zoom is going to have a storyteller telling ghost stories and legends. Saturday, as previously mentioned, is the flag football game to raise funds and support Officer O'Donnell. That 6 o'clock is when you can start. The events actually start at 6:30. Also on Saturday, starting at 11:30, the Farmington Valley Acoustic Festival at Winding Trails is going on. That's a fun day all around. Unionville Museum has their soda fountains, luncheonettes, and more going on. That's open now, so you can go visit them anytime. And one last item, we've been having discussions with the school system about artwork on the trails, so hopefully we have more of that to come. We're trying to get the students to help out with brightening up the trails systems a little bit with some local art, not just arena student art. Okay, with that, we'll move on to our next Board of Education liaison.
Okay, thank you, CJ. The Board of Education met on September 20th. It was the first meeting of the year. It started off with Teacher of the Year and Staff Member of the Year recognitions. Unlike tonight, public comment at that meeting was quite spirited, addressing masking issues most frequently. They introduced the new security resource officers, and Kathy agreed to provide her opening report, which addressed transportation challenges. I think everybody's pretty much aware of, if you watch the news, that busing companies are experiencing quite a few challenges in staffing. There were various opening celebrations aligned with mitigation practices, and those mitigation practices will continue to be driven by cooperation with the Department of Public Health and maintaining instructional continuity when they're quarantining students. The contact tracing is a little bit of a challenge and heavy lifting on the administration and staff, but they're working closely with the Farmington Valley Health District. A lot of communications would be on the website relative to additional COVID matters. They kicked off the year with a convocation. This year was theme was Together Again, Happiness and Kindness, and trying to create a sense of community and the challenges facing COVID, presented by COVID. There was a facility summer maintenance report presented, which Sam was very busy and productive, taking into consideration some supply chain disruptions due to COVID, but they got a lot of their projects done over the summer. Summer school program report was a very successful and busy year. Did a lot of curriculum work over the year, updating elementary IER and FHS curriculum projects. They're rethinking larger time blocks for some classes and more electives in terms of the curriculum offerings. In terms of budget impact and update, there was an additional grant of $42,000 for the Food Authority. Storm Ida did present some problems with Noah Wallace basement that had an impact on the budget, and unsure of some impacts. Executive Order 13G from the governor with regard to mandatory vaccinations. Transportation will remain uncertainty going forward. COVID and presenting challenges with professional learning opportunities for teachers and administrators and off-site learning opportunities. Excel and Continuing Ed ended the season year at a loss, but they're heading in the right direction now as we move forward. There's additional information presented in terms of ESSER funding. The first round, as it was presented by Kathy, was sort of surviving and using it for PPE. ESSER 2 was to cover budget reductions to staff Chromebooks, moving cost, storage of furniture, ventilation improvements, and there was an application approved for $2.4 million in terms of they're working on how to spend in terms of transforming education and some flexibility between the years and objects, but they're working on that additional money. There was a significant presentation on policy updates. They dissolved the Farmington High School Ad Hoc Committee relative to the mascot. And in terms of operations reports, the end of report was a good, successful year. They returned $372,000 back to the town. And a healthy balance with grant funding, some teacher departures, so there's realizing some benefits with salaries and benefits, and with the reduction in some transportation and building use, so it's generally a positive year. And that was that, and its meeting on next board ed meeting is Monday, 13th.
Thank you, Chris. Economic Development Commission liaison.
Yeah, the EDC, the October EDC meeting has been canceled, and the next meeting is scheduled for November 10th at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you. Farmington Historic District Commission.
All right, thank you. Yeah, there were a number of issues presented and discussed at the last meeting. There was an application to replace a bow window at 767 Farmington Ave in the boardwalk, in the brickwalk shops. That was discussed at length, and it was approved for replacement. Also discussed was an application to replace a fence at 33 Mountain Road, which was discussed and approved. We also discussed, for Ms. Porter's school, there was an application to extend a fence at 59 Main Street. That was discussed and approved as well. There was also an application to install a standby whole house generator at 35 Colton Street. That was discussed and approved as well. We also discussed an application to replace site lighting at 781 Farmington Avenue. That was discussed and approved. Everything has been, all of those plans are with the town planning and zoning. They will have the final review of the intensity of lights from the new LED fixtures, just so that you know. And for all issues discussed, their plans are on file in the planning office if anyone would like to review them. And our next meeting is going to be on November 16th at 4 p.m.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Number 5, Housing Authority.
Nothing to report on.
Number 6, Human Relations Commission.
Thank you. The Human Relations Commission meets on October 25th. Scheduled to talk to us would be Shannon Rutherford, and she's going to discuss the affordable housing plan. And we talked about this before, but the HRC also sponsored a National Disability Voter Registration Week, which was part of the AAPD National Initiative. That was held at New Horizons on September 15th. Nancy Parent created a video that we encourage all the town council to view and everybody else out there. You can see that video at the HRC website. And the HRC will be participating in the second meeting of the statewide HRC Forum Network on October 28th. There are reps from 12 different HRCs throughout the Connecticut that meet there in June. And we plan to meet there quarterly. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Joe. Library Board.
Nothing to report on.
Okay. Item 8, Town Plan and Zoning Liaison.
Nothing new to report.
Item 9, Unionville Historic District Commission.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Item 10, Unionville Village Improvement Association Liaison.
Nothing to report.
Item 11, Water Pollution Control Authority.
Yes, the PCA has a meeting tomorrow night at 7 on Zoom and at the sewer plant. At that meeting, we'll be thanking our chairperson, Peter Bagdigian. He is stepping down after, I think, from 2010, he's been appointed to the board. So please welcome him and say a thank you for all his years of service and dedication to the WPCA.
Great. Thank you, Peter. Item 12, we have any other liaisons that would like to report? Okay. Moving on to item K, the report of the town manager. Kathy.
Good evening. You have my quarterly reports, and if you have any questions on those, I'll be more than happy to answer them. But just a few other items. We did became a heart-safe community again, so congratulations to Steve and the fire department. And also, just as you saw in the written report, that we did have a personnel update as Catherine Kramer, our town planner, it will be returning to New York City. She was recruited by a large firm. And Shannon Rutherford will be promoted to town planner. Shannon is a Farmington resident, has been with the town as the assistant town planner since 2015. Shannon has assumed the role of acting town planner while the position was vacant in the past, and under her leadership enabled seamless transitions between planners. Over the past few years, Shannon has grown to be an exceptional resource in the planning office. So we're very excited that Shannon is taking the job as our permanent town planner.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay.
And then you do have the goals and objectives. The first few pages are the template, and then there's attachments attached for ones that are a little bit more in detail. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that the town council may have.
Great.
Any questions? Brian?
Yeah, I just have a question about the sidewalk replacement project. Because I know that, I had some questions, last time we went around. So I just would appreciate some clarification on the bid process, about when the bid is going to go out and when we expect construction. I see spring of 2020, but when do we go through the process of creating that bid and putting it out there?
The bid is done, and it went out one time already, and so it went out, and it's been, so the bid documents are complete. I think that they're working on now maybe some tweaks to it to try to see if we can get some bidders to bid on it, but essentially the bid documents are done.
Oh.
So they're ready to go, and as if you remember, we did go out to bid. It was later than we thought because we didn't get our information on our permit requirements from the state. So it was later, and then on August 17th, we had a pre-bid meeting, which bidders are required to come to, and no one came to the pre-bid meeting. So at that point in time, we're going to plan on going back out to bid for a spring job. And Russ, you're in the audience. What's our anticipated thought process of when we're going to start posting for that? December. So it's
December,
yeah.
okay.
So everything's ready to go. The bid documents are ready. Everything's ready. So it's just a question of now timing, putting it out, and hopefully getting people to bid on the project.
Okay, just a follow-up question to that because, in light of what you just said, I was looking for that bid online on the finance and purchasing page under bids. I didn't see a bid for last year on there, and I must be looking in the wrong place, or it just isn't on the page at all, because I just wanted to reference it and see what that bid entailed that we did last time.
Okay, so we didn't get any bids in, so there wouldn't be bids. But I don't know, Joe, do we put the specifications online?
We put the bid notice online.
Oh, we did?
Yeah. It
Oh.
was online in August. It's probably down now. Once the bid is open, once no action was taken, we would take it off.
Oh, okay. Do we know when that bid went out?
It was advertised in the Hartford Current. It was advertised on our website. It was advertised on the state website.
Okay. No, I just didn't see it because I was kind of looking for that timeline of what we did last time so that we could do better this time around. So I just didn't see any reference material so that,
We also send out notice, anybody who's bid on any of the similar projects in the past, we've actually done 2 other sidewalk bids for the Unionville sidewalk. So we actually contact those contractors who bid on the last projects, to let them know that this bid is out there and that they should go to the website or contact us to get
Oh.
the bid documents.
so in addition to the public notice, we also contacted people directly?
Yes.
Okay, no, I was just curious because I didn't see any reference, so I was just kind of looking for some kind of reference material.
We probably, more than likely, we took it off because there was no activity. What sometimes happens if you leave a bid out there, if you leave the notice out there, if we did have an actual bid, we had a bid open, we would put the results out there so people could see the results. Because we never got that far in the process, we took the bid, we take the bids off. If you do leave them out there, some people will misinterpret that, think the bid is still open, or there's still a bid available.
Okay, just because I'm curious, is it available to review the bid that went out last time? Because I'm kind of curious.
I can send you a copy, it's
No, it's because I feel like as, being the first district representative, I should be a little more informed than I was last time. I just want to be prepared so I can answer questions that people ask me when I'm out.
yeah, more than happy to send.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think what we've stated a few times, Brian, is that the bid went out in the middle of the summer, which was
Oh.
terrible timing.
Right, oh, yeah.
So I think the specifications are strong. It's just that we went out where everyone has already have been bidded, they've had their work already done. But we went out because of the fact that we wanted to at least try to see what would happen. We're hopeful that with the better time, like we had talked about a year ago, we wanted to go out a year ago December, but we didn't have all our permits in place from the state of Connecticut. And so until we got those permits in place, we couldn't go out to bid.
Right.
So once the specifications went back and forth, and then what I've stated a few times is that because we had 2 different grant funding sources, from 2 different agencies in the state of Connecticut, we had to get approvals through the grants from 2 different state agencies.
Right, oh, yeah.
The DEP and the DOT. 3, Russ, which was the third? And the district.
Okay,
So at the end, it was the district that was the issue to get the permits. Then again, between COVID and the state working from home, it's our opinion that things were definitely at a much slower rate. But when we did get it, we did go out to bid. We received no bids, but we do have specifications, and I'd be more than happy to give you a timeline on back and forth with the state of Connecticut. But there was a substantial holdup getting our information so that we could have approval to go out. And
Right.
That's why we didn't go out.
I just wanted to be more praised myself and more informed, going forward. So that, because last time I didn't realize until the last minute the back and forth that we were going through with the state. Because like you said, we had a lot to deal with. We had a couple of different grants that we had to deal with, and the state was a little slow in getting back to us. So, it seems like we're in better shape this time around.
Well, we're hopeful, but again, and one of the things that maybe we could just briefly talk about for the expectations of the council, I'm sure everyone has seen in their own personal life and their businesses, is that the supply chain is very, very altered right now. And prices, things that Russ Arnold was telling me that would go for, not square foot, Russ,
Linear foot.
linear foot was $8 is now $80. Things that a car to order for a police department would take, X amount of time, it's 3 times the amount of time.
Yeah.
So, and prices, certain things are sky high, certain things aren't sky high. So and contractors are extremely busy, and us included, getting employees is very, very tough. So again, we are hopeful to put this out to bid, but I don't think on the whole scheme of what contractors want to do, it's a top job.
Yeah, and I would imagine that, because we already put the bid out, we kind of have it in place, ready to go next time, so we don't have to do the back and forth with the
No.
state this time around, because it's already been done, right? Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure we don't miss the opportunity to get it out, because I'm hearing a lot of interest about sidewalks in the village, and of course, I get to hear about that.
Yeah, but again, we're splitting hairs a little bit, but it's not about us not getting the bid out.
No,
It's
no.
that we just didn't have the information from the state, so we couldn't get the bid out. So we have the bid ready to go, and we've had it ready to go. It's just, and so we're hopeful that it goes out in the winter, we get bids back, and then we can start the process, which in theory will work better for us because it will be during the summer months, and that's when we want with the kids at Miss Porter's and things like that, because it's
Yeah.
obviously a sidewalk project.
No, I get that. I just want to make sure that it gets out this time.
Yep.
That's all.
Just before we leave that topic, because we've been discussing this topic in the sidewalks for over a year at this point in time, well over a year, probably a year and a half. We walked, as Brian knows, we walked together the sidewalks at the very beginning of this process.
Yes, we did.
Peter joined us, Joe joined us, so we were out looking at these. And our intent and what we spoke to the community about was we fully expected these sidewalks to be basically completed by now, if not substantially completed by now. We did everything we could possibly do in the town of Farmington, got all our information to the state in plenty of time to get this done. And unfortunately, because it's 3 agencies we were dealing with, and as Kathy mentioned, COVID, people are working from home, there were a number of unforeseen circumstances that delayed the confirmation from the state that we could follow through on this. I've had those same conversations, Brian, with many people throughout the First District on
so
Main
you know, yeah.
Street who are getting free sidewalks, which would normally be the responsibility of the citizens whose house the sidewalk is in front of, and unfortunately, it did not happen. But it was absolutely due to no fault of the town or the town staff. It was things that were out of our hands. So we are fully expecting we should have this done by next summer. Let's hope nothing else unforeseen or unexpected happens in the meantime.
Absolutely.
Any other questions on Kathy's report? Yes, Ed.
Yeah, I have a question on a different topic.
Or was it this topic?
No.
Okay, go ahead, Ed.
Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, I have a question on a different topic. It's in your quarterly report, Kathy. Goal 24, the skateboard park.
Oh, yeah.
I was reading a little bit about that and how a committee has been established by Nancy Parent. And there was a couple of residents during the budget process that wrote in favor of the skateboard park, and I know they want the opportunity to share their ideas and recommendations with the committee, and I read that there's going to be a public forum in the future. Do we know when that's going to be?
No, we don't know exactly when that form is going to be, but I know that Nancy and her staff does have somewhat of a pulse of people that have been interested in the skateboard park. And so, but if you happen to have those names.
I do.
Why don't you give them? Because they are definitely going to have like subcommittees kind of trying to work, and they want to get as much information as possible. And they just started the planning stage, but then they're definitely, I think the thought is that once they get as much input and anyone that has some interest, they're going to design the plans and then go down to Tungus Mead and have the meeting down there and like have people come down and look at the park and look to make sure. But I think what they wanted to do kind of move the process forward is kind of come up with a plan with input from people, stakeholders, and then bring the plan out and then hopefully cross our fingers that people in general like what the plan is. So if you have those names, definitely give them to me because I know that they're reaching out to people to help them kind of pick the different components and all the different things that go with it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I'll be sure to send you
Okay,
those names.
great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Ed, you might just want to mention them, Nancy Parent, so they know who they'd be reaching out to, too.
To Nancy Parent, yes.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't be bad.
Yep.
Great. You're not going to use the skateboard park, are you?
We'll see.
Okay, other questions?
I just want to follow up. I was going to ask about the skateboard park myself. After the design stage, Russ, what do you think, once you have all that done? Is it realistic that a shovel gets put in the ground this year, or would it be the following year?
I would say the following year, just because we're talking about how things are delayed.
Yep.
I think by the time the committee decides on what they want, and what all the components are gonna be, it's gonna be through the winter.
Yep.
We're already middle of October.
Fair enough, Russ. I got it.
But it'd be more about the ordering of the components, right? They come in different spots, different things, right? But,
It's not going to look like one of those Olympic skateboard parks, is it?
I don't know.
We
Good.
hope. We hope.
Good.
Other questions or comments for the town manager's report? Okay. Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the town manager's report?
I make a motion to approve the town manager's quarterly report.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item L, appointments. Do we have any appointments?
I think,
No.
no, but,
Busy?
the number 14.
Yes, okay.
And that's, Paula, correct me, that's the name that you want to be inserted, right?
That's correct.
So,
Who am I,
number 14. And I don't know if it's a Mr. or a Mrs.
I make a motion to appoint a sub-registrar for the town of Farmington, Weinstein.
Zachary David Zimmerman.
Pardon?
Oh, you know what? Hold
in the
on,
motion.
hold on.
I-
Okay, here we go.
Okay,
All right,
that's why I
there
was a
we
little
go.
thrown off.
Okay, there you go.
All right,
Thank
there we
you.
go.
All right,
Take two.
okay.
Okay, agenda item L14, I make a motion that Zachary David Zimmerman be appointed as sub-registrar for the town of Farmington for the balance of a 4-year term beginning October 28th, 2021 and ending January 3rd, 2022.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ed?
Yeah, could someone just give maybe a couple sentences background?
Well, what this is, it's not that kind of appointment.
Okay.
At the beginning of the term of the town clerk, you appoint sub-registers for the town. And they're funeral directors, they're not volunteers. So that when the town clerk's office is closed, the sub-registrar for your town can issue a burial permit. Okay? And the sub-registrar, we had one for Weinstein's Mortuary in West Hartford, but he is retiring October 28th. So they needed someone to fill till the end, till next January, when the next town clerk appoints new sub-registrars. So that's what this is.
Got it. Thanks for the explanation, Paula.
Okay, any other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Moving on to item N, or M, excuse me, Mary, old business. Seeing none. Item N, new business, N1.
Agenda item N1, I make a motion that section 55-1 of the Town Code of Ordinances be waived and that the Fay and Wright Excavating, Inc. of Goshen, Connecticut be awarded a contract to crush approximately 15,000 tons of construction rubble at a cost of $5.25 per ton, plus mobilization and setup fees of $7,000.
Second?
A motion, a second. Kathy?
This is kind of a new idea that Russ and his department came up with. It's over the last several years, the town has accumulated stockpiles of used gravel, asphalt, and concrete from various road construction and sewer replacement jobs. Usually, the town contracts out with a private company to haul away the stockpiles once they reach a certain amount. Recently, Russ and his department researched the possibility of having this material crushed on site into a size that would make the material usable for backfilling around catch basins and town roadways instead of buying new materials. As a result of their research, the town obtained a proposal, and Ray and Wright will crush the town's stockpile used material on site for $5.25 per ton. There's also a mobilization fee of $7,000. In total, it would be about $7 per ton for the service versus $12 per ton to purchase the new material, plus the expense of hauling away the accumulated used material. Other towns have done this for success, and I think it says here that the town will have enough reusable material for at least 5 years, which will significantly reduce the amount of new material the town will have to purchase. So this, I think, was a great idea that Russ and his department had come up with. It's almost half price, and it's pretty creative, and I think I would highly recommend that we give it a go.
Great. Any questions or comments?
The only comment, if I may,
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea, and thank you for suggesting that, Russ, and for finding another way that we can save money at the town. Thank you, good one.
I got one. Russ, where are we currently storing all this? Up at the old dump?
At the old dump and at Untitled.
Okay, and then just no permitting required for any of this storage of,
Work with planning and zoning.
and, yeah, for storage? And nothing from the state? So, free reign, store it as much as you want. Excellent.
So all our, the former landfills are all permitted through DEP, so it's all part of any permits that we have in place already.
Oh, excellent. Okay, thanks, Russ.
Other comments?
Just thank you, Russ. Always looking out. We appreciate it.
Okay, I'll reiterate that. Thank you, Russ. And it's, when you have a town that's been running things well in the right way for many years, you've got an incredible staff that does a tremendous job. This is what you get. So, thank you all. Moving on to a motion and a second. No other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Agenda item N2, I make a motion that section 55-1 of the Town Code of Ordinances be waived and that Axon Enterprises, Inc. of Scottsdale, Arizona, be awarded a contract to supply the Farmington Police Department with body cameras and in-car camera systems for a 5-year period beginning November 1st, 2021 to October 31st, 2026, at a cost of $67,602.61 per year, or $335,263.03 for the 5-year period.
Second?
A motion and a second. Kathy?
So the note explains that, as you know, the Police Accountability Act requires each police department in the state to equip their body with body cameras by July 1st, 2022. The Farmington police staff have been reviewing various body camera systems that are currently available and have determined that the body camera and in-car system offered by, how do you say it, Axon Enterprise of Arizona best meets the needs. The Axon system that the town would contract for includes cameras and accessories, docking stations, software licensing for cameras, cloud film storage, and a 5-year warranties. In addition, as part of the program, Axon would change out the cameras and update the software after 2.5 years. Also, under the proposal, they would replace all the in-car cameras that are currently in use with the new Axon in cameras in-car cameras. This would allow the department to operate all of their cameras on one interconnected operating system. It would avoid the need to maintain two software licenses, and to maintain two different types of a camera equipment. In addition, Axon would replace the in-car cameras after 5 years. I know that Chief Melanson and his staff have really researched this quite a bit to look what was the cameras that they would like to get, and this is what they are recommending at this time.
Excellent. Joe?
I know we talked before, Chief, anything coming back from the state since this is like a mandate based on the bill?
So, once we buy them, then we submit to the state in approximately 30%, but it's not 30% of the total amount. They only cover the first year of storage. So in the $67,000, it not only covers the equipment, but it's storage for each of the 5 years. The state is very familiar with this program of the 5-year because that's what every police department, I think if you saw the news last week, Hartford just implemented this same exact Axon system. And so the reimbursement from the state will be up to 30%, but not of the whole 335. They have to take off years 2, 3, 4, and 5 of storage fees. But we will be getting money back. It's a reimbursement grant.
So basically 30% of 60-something thousand.
Yes. More than that, I'm sorry. So, because built into this is, the equipment is paid for through the years, and then they give new body cams in 2.5 years. And that is all included in this price. So I would say of this amount, probably about 250,000 will get 30% back.
Okay. And obviously, there's still ongoing talks with the stuff. Now they're seeing plans coming out of 5-year increments, not 1 year, 2 years. Are they looking to fix their numbers going forward?
I've already spoken to OPM about this because now all the major vendors are doing this exact same plan where it's a 5-year payment plan. And so they are very familiar with it, and so they're going to do 30% of the cost of everything of that, except for the storage portion for years 2, 3, 4, and 5, because that was excluded in the reimbursement bill.
Thank you, Chief.
So if I heard that correctly, we'd roughly get 30% of the 250, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so of this $335,263.03 of a state mandate, we'll get roughly $75,000 back. Okay. Any other questions? Brian?
Just one question, and thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate that our Farmington Police are taking this initiative and doing a really good thing, I think. But my question was, thank you for answering what happens after 5 years. And my other question is there a plan in place for what to do for cloud storage for whatever you need for 3, 4, and 5?
So it is included in this price. So we have cloud storage included in this price. We're just not reimbursed from the state.
Oh, okay.
30% for that.
Oh, okay. Thanks for clarifying.
Other questions on this topic? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Agenda item N3, I make a motion to set a public hearing on November 9th, 2021 at 7:05 PM in the Town Hall Council Chambers to amend the Farmington Town Code, Chapter 78, Animals, to add Article 2, Wildlife Feeding.
Second?
A motion and a second. Kathy?
We had the presentation from the police department last month. Last month. This is, you have now the actual ordinance and the item that we are adding, the new section, wildlife feeding, and that's Article 2. And that whole section is new. And we would have a public hearing and a presentation at the next meeting, and then the public would have an opportunity to comment on it, and then hopefully you guys would vote on the ordinance. So unless there's something that you see in the draft wildlife feeding, this is what you would see at the next meeting.
Okay. Any questions on this ordinance?
Just one.
Yes.
I'm going to nitpick a little. Feeding birds. How do we get how do we patrol that? I don't know. How do we control that?
Chief or one of your staff members?
And I'll let her follow up. The reality of it is that we're not going to be testing people's births.
Yeah, exactly.
But if it becomes an issue like we've had at a couple of the residences in Farmington where the bears are constantly coming back over and over and over again, then we probably would work with the homeowner to ensure that they're using the proper bird seed. So we will not be going around checking people's bird feeders. And like I had said, this is really a reactive type of ordinance. In other words, we get complaints of bears constantly in a certain area, and that's when we then go try and work with the homeowner. And some homeowners refuse to do that and actually put the bird seed, as you saw, they'll put it on picnic tables, or they'll spread their whole backyard full of it to get the bears to come and eat. And that's where we just need some tool to be able to convince those homeowners, because right now there's no ordinance against it, that it's not the right thing to do.
Thanks, Chief.
Other questions?
And I just want to, I'm glad, because I had the same question, and I like that you put in the options of 2 types of seed that you can use that don't attract bears. So we're not saying you can't feed them. It's really more an issue of communicating the proper information. We're not saying don't feed birds. We're saying let's feed them properly so that we don't attract bears. That's what it does.
And seasonality is always nice to let people know about when the bears are at their hungriest and looking for that little extra food. Any other questions, comments? Okay, seeing none. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Item 4.
Agenda item N4, I make a motion to approve the attached fire station comprehensive building project statement of needs and to appoint a fire station building committee with the following voting members. So,
We have a motion and a second. Kathy?
Okay. So here is a motion to establish our Fire Station Comprehensive Building Committee. This was what I thought potentially could be the makeup, would be the town council member, 2 town council members, one which would be the chairperson. We'd have a member from East Farmington, Farmington, and Tungus Hose, and then 1 member from the 1st district, 1 member from the 2nd, myself, Steve Hoffman, and potentially a clerk that would, clerk of the committee. And then the second part would be to approve the following charge of the Fire Station Building Committee. So you can see this is pretty straightforward. What I did was doing part 1 is that the committee would review the statement of needs, which is attached, which we went over at the last meeting. The 2004 facility study and the 2018 fire station location and deployment study. And these reports do include conceptual designs and cost estimates, but obviously the cost estimates were back from 2014 and 2018. That once the review is complete, the committee would make recommendations to the town council on a comprehensive building project, and the committee would obtain an updated preliminary cost estimate based on the selection. And you can see the choices: renovate, and/or expand the existing fire stations based on individual needs, consider new locations for the new construction of fire stations, consider any potential consolidation of fire stations. And then the committee would look at the needs based on code and safety, lack of available space for expansion, lack of available space for use, upgrades of major building systems, upgrades to the building infrastructure and energy efficient code and standard compliance. And these recommendations should meet current standards while ensuring they support the future needs of the town of Farmington. And then once the town council has reviewed and approved the recommended project by the committee and the preliminary cost estimate, it would recharge the committee with an overall project scope and budget, and then the committee would begin phase 2 of the preliminary plan development. This is similar to what we did with the Farmington High School, kind of putting it in phase 1 and phase 2. So my thought here tonight was that if the group was comfortable with the statement of needs, because that's something that you would have to be approving, and the charge, you would see this again at the November town council meeting, and hopefully at that point you would have your members who you could appoint and we could get it started. But I just want to see if I'm on the right pathway with the charge and you have the statement of needs.
So at this point, you're really just looking for consensus? that everyone's
Consensus,
comfortable with this?
and then it would be tabled, and then we tabled until the next meeting, and then you guys would work on the members of it.
Any questions about that? Okay.
All right, so I need to make a motion to table it?
Yeah.
I make a motion to table agenda item N4
Second.
We have it.
Until the November,
until the first meeting in
Ninth.
November,
9th.
November 9th.
Second.
Well, Paula, do we need to act on that first motion? Because we had a motion on the table,
well, now we have a motion to table, and if that
Okay.
passes, that.
then we don't have
goes
to,
out the-
okay,
Goes
just
out the
confirming.
door.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table this item. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The item is tabled. Item 5.
Agenda item N5, I make a motion to award bid number 307 janitorial services at various town buildings to Green Life Janitorial LLC of Niantic, Connecticut, at an annual cost of $97,091.05.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Kathy?
This bid is to contract with a qualified vendor to perform janitorial services in 7 town buildings. Green Life submitted the lowest reasonable bid. Committee of town staff members reviewed Green Life's qualifications and met with the Green Life principals. The committee was satisfied and are recommending this for the town council approval.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Item 6.
Agenda item N6, I make a motion that Tyler Technologies of Moraine, Ohio be awarded a contract to assist the town in updating the values of all real property located within the corporate limits of the town pursuant to Connecticut general statutes at a total contractual cost of $425,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Kathy?
Town staff recently accepted proposals from qualified firms to assist the assessor with the revaluation of all real property located within the town of Farmington. Under state law, the revaluation of all real property must take place for the October 1st, 2022 grand list. The town received proposals from 4 qualified firms. After reviewing the various proposals and options, staff is recommending that a contract be awarded to Tyler Technologies. The town has used Tyler Technologies for the last 3 revaluation cycles, including the last full revaluation undertaken in 2012. They have proposed that some of the supervisory staff that worked in the 2017 revaluation be used on this one as well. In addition, they're proposing to use commercial appraisals on the project who have worked for the town in advisory capacities for the lawsuits and special projects. This will allow for the same people to be looking at the town of Farmington, which I think is beneficial. Finally, the timeline works well with the town's timeline for completing the reval by January 21st, 2023. Town staff has also been very satisfied with their work in the past. And I wonder if that's January 21st or January 31st. It just seems like an arbitrary date, but anyway. So funds for the first half of the project are included in the capital budget with funding for the second half proposed in next year's.
Any questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Item 7.
Agenda item N7, I make a motion that the following unobligated capital improvement project balances be transferred to the accounts listed below for the purpose of closing out various inactive CIP accounts and covering shortfalls in other capital improvement project accounts.
Second.
Motion and a second. Kathy?
So you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 projects that for a total of $142,282 would be used to pay for some other projects that had shortfalls. And you can see that the school projects match the school projects, and then the police, there's town projects. So it's just moving money to pay for some of the projects that went over, and we're using the money that projects that were under.
All right. Questions? Seeing none, have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Number 8.
Agenda item 8, I make a motion to approve the following resolution, which is required for the submission of grant applications to the state of Connecticut for the corridor flooring abatement project at West District School. The resolution that the Farmington Town Council authorizes the Farmington Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the corridor flooring abatement project at West District School, and that the Farmington Board of Education is hereby established as the building committee with regard to the corridor flooring abatement project at West District School, and that the Farmington Town Council hereby authorizes at least the preparation, schematic drawings, and outline specifications for the corridor flooring abatement project at West District School.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions or comments?
This motion is required before the Farmington Board of Education can file for the state of Connecticut reimbursement grants. This motion also establishes the Farmington Board of Ed as the building committee, which needs to be appointed in order for these projects to be eligible for state reimbursement grants. So we do these every year for projects so the state can get reimbursement. I mean, not the state, the town.
Board of Ed is getting, so we're electing to let them accept money from someone else, just to be clear. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Yeah.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Number 9.
Agenda item 9, I make a motion to approve the following resolution, which is required for the submission of grant applications to the state of Connecticut for the partial roof replacement project at Noah Wallace School as listed below.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, Kathy?
This is the same thing, but this is for the partial roof replacement at Noah Wallace.
Okay, questions? Same deal. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passed unanimously.
Agenda item N10, to cancel the October 26th, 2021 Town Council meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on this item? You sure? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Agenda item N11, I make a motion to approve the following property tax refunds as listed below.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Kathy? Just tell me the standard. It's all the standard?
Standard.
Okay. Any questions?
Looks like we
Okay.
had one big overpayment, so that's why the number's a little bit higher.
Yes, we did. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed unanimously. We've approved our property tax refunds. Do we have executive session tonight?
No.
We do
We
not.
have no executive session, so before we leave, in the interest of our town artist, from Marc Chagall, great art picks up where nature ends. With that, I'll ask for a move to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the October 12th, 2021 Farmington Town Council meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a hesitant second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 8:13.